Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic, and welcome to this deep woo-woo show. Today's episode is entitled Secrets Revealed with, of course, Bryce and Janine. You can find Janine, as always, at Tarot by Janine and also here at Sending Ravens. And, of course, you can find Bryce at Esoteric Atlanta here on YouTube. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty
We're
good.
in the war.
Yeah, as good as can be expected.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this live interactive show. As you can tell, we're already giggling and having fun. We were trying to, I guess, set up the show here backstage, and we have so many things we want to talk about. And at the same time, we're all excited to be together again. It's so fun when we can kind of bring all of our minds together and share ideas and build on each other's questions and fill in the blanks, so to speak. So this is kind of what we're going to try to do in this episode today. Of course, we'll take your comments as we go live during the show. And if we have time, maybe at the later end of the show, we might take some questions from the audience as well. Bryce, let me start with you. I wanted to maybe set up a triple cast with your channel here today, but I hear there's a little bit of drama going on.
Yes,
what can you share with the audience here?
You know, you're ruffling feathers when you start getting a lot of threats. So thank God for Janine. Janine was like my guardian angel this weekend. She helped me off camera, just the two of us, to kind of figure out what to do. I released a couple episodes yesterday that were pretty harmless, but the next, I guess today included 3 days, we're going to go dark on my channel just to kind of let the waves calm a little bit. I mean, we are in a WAR right now. I don't know if we can even say that word. And it's definitely not one that I think any of us human beings have really experienced before, because it's so psychological. It's emotional. They're messing with our income. They're messing with everything because we're pushing back on the narrative. And as I said earlier, this is all coming from like the Jesus strand, what we worked on. And it's easy for people across the board to understand the government's got issues. We'll just say issues. Education has issues. Medical industry has, but when it comes to dogmatic faith, that's when people are going to have a really hard time. I know, Janine, we've talked about it a lot. It's no secret that these organized religions are extremely corrupt. And the corruption runs so deep. I mean, we have been misled with a lot of stuff. And it's 2,000 years worth of mind control that we're breaking through. And so, so I'm going to go dark for a few days on my channel, and then we're going to do some kind of not so potent stuff for a while before we go back into some of the more faith-based stuff, So.
Well, let's talk about that. Let me bring you on also, Janine. You were explaining to the audience yesterday, I believe, but maybe for this audience here too, what's going on at Tarot by Janine. I know Guy is having to do backflips here to try to get your content online lately. There's a lot of difficulty with the censorship models. What's going on there?
Yeah, I think for the last week, he's had to shuffle and re-edit, just trying to figure out what words can't be said, because it's just absurd how many things they're regulating again. I find it very strange. Mm-hmm. They've just really put the heat on. But it's weird because I'll put them up on, sometimes if you can't get it up on Tarot by Janine, I'll throw it up on Sending Ravens. So they're watching some of the channels, not watching all of. Mm-hmm. I think it depends on how many viewers you have. Or just some kind of, who knows what the trigger is, but yeah, it's hard to work with. Let me tell you.
I think to some extent now we're getting spot checked by humans. And Cliff High was telling me this maybe a while back. He said a while back it was only machines looking at keywords and just scanning the transcript from your videos. But I think sometimes we attract more than that, because they're getting through, like even if we're using code words, somebody's like, oh, we know what you're saying, and we're giving you a strike or a penalty, or videos disappear all of a sudden. So it's kind of weird out there. And it's funny, just the other day too on the show, I was trying to communicate something that was difficult, and somebody on the show said, oh, JC, just spit it out, stop being such a pussyfoot, or whatever it was. And I'm like, dude, this is my third channel, I know what I'm talking about. I keep getting deleted and getting in trouble. Yeah. It is the war we're in. You're absolutely right. And I think, Bryce, too, to some extent, even us who are thick in it, not just the audience here, but us who are doing the work on the front lines here, we don't know to what extent we're really affected in our personal lives and how we're creating these ripples here through time space. And sometimes it catches me when I'm sleeping, the immensity of what we're actually doing and how we're actually moving mountains. And then I figure, oh, no wonder there's all this scrutiny, perhaps, by some of the powers that be here on these shows. So, anyways, a big thank you to all the audience who support us and who keep us going, because it's not always easy. And Janine and I, and we use these smudging tools and crystals and all of that, but sometimes it does get under our skin. We're humans too, So send us a lot of love. I see a lot of love in the chat now. It does make a big difference. If you guys are not on the front lines yourselves, then please support those who are on. Absolutely. And a big thank you to all of you who are watching. All right, let's get into our first topic for today. I guess, Bryce, you wanted to talk about the Cassiopeians and some of the messages that are coming through right now that kind of line up with some other discussions I've been having with Janine here. So set that up for the audience, who they are, how you got to this information, and what perhaps is the critical nuggets of information now that the audience should be aware of.
So from what I understand, and before we went live, my boyfriend actually came and talked to Jean-Claude. So because he was the one that brought this information to me. And from what I understand, the Cassiopeians, which my boyfriend has been following for years now, it's a channeling forum, and they're us in the future, talking to us now, guiding us through this. And a lot of what they've said before leading up to this moment has come true. And the Cassiopeians, I always catch JC and Janine, like you guys. I'm like, every time I'm like, ooh, I gotta see what they have to, they're my news. You guys are my CNN. So I have to catch up with you. And I was watching your show from last night this morning while I was getting ready, and my boyfriend came home and he was telling me about what the Cassiopeians had said. And they said that help is coming soon. And so people, from what I understand, were asking, like, explain that more or something. I can't remember what Todd said, but what is this help? Well, is it an off-worlder that's coming and going to be making a very public display? Or, I don't know how I'm going to explain this, is our future selves coming back to intercept with us now? That's so hard for a human in a human body to think about. Like, our higher selves, are they coming to intercept? Is that the idea of like the rapture? We talk about the rapture in church, but I thought it was just your vibration moving up. But is this part of it, that our higher selves connect more with the core of our soul essence? I don't know. So watching y'all's show last night and him saying that, I thought it'd be really interesting to bring up tonight and see what the cards had to say, to see what you guys think about that. Now, the Cassiopeians are on the forum that connect to the law of one, which we've talked about briefly, about the law of one, where we're moving into from third density to fourth density as a planet, and then the dimensions are third to fifth. So psychedelic. So, like, there are people out there right now just watching reality TV and going on with life, and here we are going, where are we? What's going on? So
they're probably watching Dr. Phil. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I had to bring that in there. I don't know why. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Well, do we ask a question now? Okay, wait, hold on a second here. So just in my understanding, because these guys are new to me, I've been following for a number of years, like the Barbara Marciniak of the world. They were channeling the Pleiadians, other channelers. A lot of channelers are looking at the Pleiadians, the Law of One of you discussed, the Dolores Cannon material. But in terms of the Cassiopeians, I wasn't really familiar with them until you kind of brought it up, although I've kind of in the periphery heard about them. So are they in fact us here in a future timeline? Is that what they're proposing? Like, how would you describe that?
That's how I understand it. Is it's us, our consciousness, I guess, is how I see it in my mind's eye. That it's like because we think about like our higher selves, right? Like your soul essence, from what I understand, what I believe, isn't just contained in your body. Like your soul essence is actually bigger than your actual physical form. And, I know my boyfriend and I talk about like your soul can your soul split between two people. In the East, they talk about Atman Brahman, that there's something even deeper than the soul. That's not just the eternal. The soul is something different than so there's all these different philosophical ideas of what they are. But from what I understand, they are us, talking to us, helping us get through this huge, y'all, this is a huge, I mean, think about the chaos going on right now. this is huge what we're going through. I think we talked about it once before, like they say in the law of one, that for us to transfer densities like this, usually when a planet transfers, you have to die and then be born again. But this is a unique experience where we're actually going to be able to stay on the earth as the earth does its whole, the earth as a living being itself transfers as well. And so this is a huge thing cosmically that we're going through. So that's, I thought we could talk about that. See, I don't know, maybe the cards can specify, are they us? Are they our higher selves? Are they like elements of us? Would this be like considered like a guardian angel that some religions talk about? Like who are the Cassiopeians?
Okay, Janine?
I feel like it's a wisdom. So it's coming up as this card. So that's a wisdom, an intellectual wisdom that's karmically put in place. So there's some kind of karmic, and we're attached to them karmically. So this whole situation that's going on, they're meant to chime in on. We're all sort of learning because there's a big learning we're doing together. So this card can be about spiritual teachings and learnings when I'm not, when it doesn't come up as the deep state dark cult, because we're not talking about that right now. But it's a learning. So the question was, what are they? They're spiritual teachers, very wise, here to teach. They were karmically put in place at a knowing that we'd bump into this. Okay, so and they could be from our past, so that's interesting. These two cards, this card in particular, that's a nostalgia card. So there's certainly some kind of connection to having watched us all the way from our beginnings, maybe our whole human race, maybe.
Are they connected to the Mayans by chance?
What's that?
The Mayans? That just came into, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It just popped into my head because the Mayans apparently were taken off the planet. Like from what I understand, they actually were evolved and like left. So are they connected to the Mayans? Is that where we are connected to them, that they've actually lived amongst us?
So I'm not getting the Mayans. And weirdly, I'm getting something really, I wonder if the Mayans were messed with by the dark cult way back then.
Interesting.
That's interesting. So maybe there's a connection there to our current times. I wonder if they were getting too close to some truths. They were quite the astrologers and really intuitive, although they did sacrifice humans, didn't they?
I think every culture at this point, I'm like, right? Every culture's been down that path, it seems like. Yeah. So
it's funny you mentioned that, guys, because that's our next investigation episode with Janine. It's on the Mayans and the connection to the wet nurses I was talking about in a couple of shows ago. So it's on my slide deck already. I can't wait. Yeah, go ahead, Janine. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're Mayans, but I do feel like, let's ask, okay, describe them then.
Okay. I'm going to blow your mind with my next question, but keep going with that one, and then I'll bring you in a whole different direction here.
It's a part of our own wisdom, so maybe it is like catching up to our future selves. That would make sense. Mm-hmm. It's like a part of us that we hadn't even realized was there already. So had been working with us for a really long time. So they've been watching over and watching our whole progress. Interesting. And they've been just there. Whoops, that one. Offering wisdom. For the most part, we've rejected, or a lot of people reject their wisdom. So that sounds like your higher self. I mean, think about your higher self. How many people don't connect with their higher self?
Yeah.
Your intuitive knowing about all things. But I get it's not as literal as future selves. It's more like an all-seeing energy that knows the whole beginning and end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And or the whole cycle. Okay. And they all seeing. They see it all.
Yeah. So interesting.
Okay. You guys ready for my question?
Okay.
That's fascinating. And I'm just reading as you guys are talking. I'm like, oh my God, how have I not seen this before? Okay. Because when I read your email, Bryce, about Cassiopeians, I'm like, why does that ring a bell? And I knew, like I said, tangentially of some of these channelings on the web, but something else was bugging me. I couldn't put my finger on it until just now. So in the original Battlestar Galactica, there's a character named Cassiopeia. Okay. And so she's a young girl survivor of a Cylon attack. So basically, she's part of this human seed collective. Because if you watch Battlestar Galactica, you see that there's humans all through these particular constellations, and they're trying to track back in time back to Earth. This is in the part 2 version in the late 90s, early 2000. And so they're trying to find basically their root planet, which for them is Earth, and it's a mythical thing. They don't even actually think it exists. A lot of their population thinks it's just a fable. But anyways, Cassiopeia is this young girl who escaped this Cylon attack, and apparently that's the AI connection and all of this. But there is that temporal marker into that as well. So this was the name of the actress, Laurette Spang McCook. Let me just bring up the wiki here. Cassiopeia, okay, is an extremely attractive, level-headed survivor of her own. Okay, tall, slim, blonde, blue eyes. And she becomes the main love interest of Starbuck. Starbuck is the original character in the first episode, and then they kind of changed the characters in the second series there. But at any rate, yeah, so there's a connection there to humanity with Cassiopeia in Battlestar Galactica. And every time I watch this series, and I don't know if the audience members have watched this series, I always felt that, man, we are here trying to connect with our star family, and they are also trying to connect back to us, not even knowing that we exist. So is it possible here, like you said, Janine, there's that connection in time, but also through our genetics here, that there is, in fact, a connection to us humans here through Cassiopeia, and why perhaps Battlestar Galactica kind of like spread that into the narrative here?
Yeah, I think you might be onto something.
Wow.
You might
Always
be onto
have to tell
something.
the truth.
So we've got the 5 and the 3 here. So this is what's going on. There's a lot of frustration around. This could be like a search for something. This guy's going on a big search. This is in the past. Maybe for a really long time, they've been searching. And this card is clear. Finally, you get clarity with this card. So this is between these two. So it's been a frustrating journey, but there's a breakthrough and clarity, which could be where they get the real picture of. It sounds like that movie was foretelling something.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these movies are channeled to whoever writes the script and et cetera, or the stories.
Mhm.
I think they channel this stuff to get it out there, both good and bad entities.
Mm-hmm.
Get channeled. That's what we call inspired ideas. We wake up in the middle of the night, we got to do this thing. Where did that energy come from? Channeled. You channeled it. And it could be from a good source if you're a person who channels positive and you keep yourself in a good place and you're love in your heart. But if you're in a dark place in your life and you're not necessarily coming from a good place, or you're part of the cult, you're going to channel it in a dark way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
it's almost like, let me make sure, like for us and like the other cousins, all 4 of those, we've been like 2 passing ships in the night, and this Cassiopeian is what's going to connect us together to find each other. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember in the second iteration of Battlestar Galactica how they basically do these jumps through all of these planets here, finding all these archaeological sites, which get them closer and closer to coming back to Earth, where they eventually land and basically seed us here today. So it's kind of like, wait, they're from our future, but they come back, and then we are them. To them, we are their future, but for us, they are our future. So it's so weird in the show.
That is weird.
Yeah, go ahead.
This card says we're related for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a relative card, or we've known them in the past. They've known us in the past. So it just might not work as literal as, but I think you guys are both onto it.
Wow.
I think combine those knowledges, and I think we got the picture.
I keep having the winning. You were talking about when we're explaining this, that whole winning thing with Charlie Sheen. Like, this is so wild. Well, the Cassiopeians did say, I will say something. He said that Cassiopeians did say, like, for us not to be so hard on ourselves, that these concepts are really hard for us to understand with our third density brain. And one thing the Cassiopeians did say that I thought was really awesome and good for us to hear is that what we're doing when we're researching and we're coming together on these shows is what is going to help us get to jump to the next step in our evolution and our progress, that we're doing this right. That's what they don't want us doing. They said that that knowledge that we're gaining by working together and networking, and this including people in the chat as well, that's what's protecting us, is because we're taking a sovereignty over our own knowledge, and that's what they didn't want us to do. So thank you again for supporting us on YouTube, because this is really literally where the battle is being played out, is literally on these platforms.
And honestly, that's why I keep coming back here every time they delete me. A lot of people say, oh, go to BitChute, go to Rumble. Yeah, but the fight is right here. This is where all the normies are waking up and just leaving CNN. They don't have the reflex to leave CNN and go to BitChute right away. No. That's not how it works.
It's true.
Yeah. Absolutely. But it does put us in harm's way. Of course, we know it's the battlefield that we're on. So much love in the chat, man. And somebody says, oh my God, JC, it's too early in the morning to contemplate what you just said about time. Yeah, that was a hard one to explain. But that's what the Cassiopeians are saying in their message. It's hard for our brain to really understand that we are them, but they are us. So it's like the chicken and the egg thing here. It's kind of weird. And actually, in this series, maybe by the second or third season, they start showing us this weird connection through time. And as I was watching the show, I was being triggered. I've only watched this last year, by the way, and it's like 20 years old already, this second iteration. It's a little cheesy, like the effects. But what they're trying to convey as the message here is absolutely a phenomenon. And like I said, by the second or third season, I started being triggered by the show, by the archaeology, by the findings. And it's funny because last night in the show, my buddy Joe, who does treasure hunting with me and our friend Dave, he was in a chat and he asked Janine, hey, are we going to get lucky on this particular site that we're looking at? And it's a sacred site. And to me, when I was watching Battlestar Galactica, when they found these old sacred sites on these other planets to get to these ruins, that it would basically tell them their history of who they really were and where they came from. As I was in New Mexico in some of these cases, I was like, oh my God, is that exactly what I'm doing? Because there was a thing about a dagger, and it's like, oh my God, it's kind of like a replay of this TV show, which at the time I didn't even know existed. So let's ask about that, Janine. Is New Mexico, some of these, they call it the land of enchantment for a reason. There's a lot of weird things happening in New Mexico. We could do a whole show on that. But that site that we're looking at with the guides and that we're called spiritually to go do the work there, is it connected perhaps to some of the archaeological elements that could bridge the gap between the different seedings of humanity to make us understand who we actually are, where we come from, and how much power we actually have? Is that also what's there, as on top of maybe the silver and gold?
Wow, all the same cards. So I'm going to say yes. All the same cards. It's a part of it. It's a part of it for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So this card looks out at. So you're at the beginning of uncovering some of that for sure. If you continue exploring there. Like
in the show, these characters have this trepidation about looking for it, and not like they're fighting amongst each other because it's like, maybe we should leave the past well enough alone. Some other people know it's absolutely that. And so this internal struggle that the characters in the show are living is exactly to some extent what Joe, Dave, and I were living on the mountain too, and having these weird kind of like dreams / visions. And again, here in Battlestar Galactica, there's these characters that appear that we don't know throughout the show if they're actually real, if they're AI, or if they're just in the minds, the characters' minds. Anyways, Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, enough about that. Bryce, what are your thoughts here, and how do you want to continue developing the storyboard here?
I have one more
Go ahead.
question, really, that this could open up. So the Cassiopeians keep telling us that help is coming soon. What do they mean by that? Are we the help that's coming soon? Are we going to be that help when we realize our higher selves, or is it actual cousins off-worlders that are going to like land in New Mexico, maybe drop their ships off and be like, we're here. We're not a hologram. We're actually here to help you.
And it's funny, somebody asked Janine in a show, I think it was Monday, how close are we to being in contact with our space cousins? And I think Janine pulled a card like maybe as early as January. So we're months away. Was that right, Janine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It looks like it could be an introduction to a whole new, something totally new. We're going to be in totally new territory really soon here. It's karmic and timely. They're doing it in a safe way, though. So they're going to keep us safe doing it. So I think it's an introduction to the all these ideas.
Wild.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's incredible. And we're so close here with this 9 and this death card. This is like 9s are really close to the end of something. Unnecessary stress. So there's a whole lot of unnecessary stress all over the world right now. Right. And something's dying a slow death. I think it's the narrative of the
it's going slow, that's for sure.
Mainstream media is dying. Yeah, it's still dying. Like you know, something I sent Jean-Claude just before the show here really shows it. We'll talk about that maybe tomorrow or something.
Okay, very good. And let me also share this with the audience. Janine and I did this really special episode yesterday. It's available now still for the Insider Access Pass members, and we're probably going to push it out maybe tomorrow for the pay-per-view audience. But we revisited the story of the Wizard of Oz and what it really means. And Janine and I were kind of like dumbfounded by where this episode brought us. And we came to the understanding that Dorothy, as a child, had a vision of what this whole story was. The Yellow Brick Road, the Emerald City, the witch, the man behind the scene, you know, all of that. But we are being called now to look at this again as we are graduating into adulthood as a species. So yes, the view of Dorothy of this storyboard is valid, but it only brings you to a certain level. And we're being called now to go even further. And this is what this whole decode was about. Some of it was disturbing, and for some audience who think, oh, this is going to be a kid show. No, not at all a kid show. There's a lot in there. And Janine, just even today, we were talking, we're like, yeah, we need to do a part 2 of this. And we're now starting to decode why we had some blocks yesterday or the day before when we recorded this. There wasn't time to put all that together yet. So this is an introductory piece, and it's absolutely fabulous. And I already have so many emails from people who watched it from the Insider Access Pass, and they're like, okay, wow.
I know what we're watching tonight.
Right, exactly.
Did y'all talk about how the shoes were originally silver and they changed them to
rubies? Yes, and we get into why the ruby, and it's connected to the interview we did with Tamara a couple of weeks ago too. So that, guys, I'm telling you, it's a hell of a show.
Janine, like ruined your childhood. Like, oh my god! When you start realizing this stuff.
Yeah, and it's just funny. We're guided. I've been percolating this Wizard of Oz thing for like a month now, and I was just, every time I wanted to do it with Janine, I was just like, no, it's not ready yet. So I didn't bring it up. But this week I knew, okay, we had to do it, and we were going to do it Sunday night. But I was so tired. I'm like, no, I need to wait till my brain's like at 100% to do this episode. So we did it finally on the Monday night. At any rate, Janine, in terms of the Cassiopeians, is there a question you would like to bring the cards here in this storyboard? Is there something that's like maybe triggering your brain here to say, hey, why is this coming up in the field now? Why are we looking at this? What do you think?
Why don't we ask them what they'd like to say to this audience right now?
Oh, that
seems like they want to communicate.
Okay.
Let's ask them.
Yeah. And guys in the chat, while Janine pulls on that one, ask us some questions about Cassiopeia. Put your questions in high caps, please. It's easier for me to tag. There's about 5,000 here in the live chat, so the chat is running really fast. But please put that in high caps, and we'll try to address a few of your questions if we can also.
So they're talking about a breakthrough. So remember, October is my breakthrough month, or no, November. November, the word for November is breakthrough. So they're talking about a breakthrough. So they're telling us something's in sight for a breakthrough that could give us a little reprieve on how hard it's been, because this is a well-aspected celebration card. I mean, if it's badly aspected, I talk about it like all kinds of nefarious things, overuse of substance, et cetera, even all the way to party substance, which I call party substance, but it's well aspected here. And with this just above it. Okay, so there's a breakthrough that could cause celebration. Okay, which is, really needed, because the truther community and everybody watching and things start going way better in our direction. More obviously, a landslide of things. And let me tell you, it's already happening. Like, the incredible stuff that's being disclosed minute by minute is, I can't even keep up to it.
Yeah.
We were saying the other day we'd have to do a show a day now. We're already at 2 a week, and still it's not enough. I know.
So they're saying there's going to be a whole rebirth, Ace of Cups, rebirth of a whole new way of looking at ourselves. And we're absolutely connected off-world too. So our whole off-world connection is going to become apparent in the coming months, I'd say.
Wow.
How
are the Wallies going to handle this?
There's a lot of waking up having to do, and I think,
ice water dumped on their head. I mean, we're prepared. Like, we've been slowly preparing ourselves, and they're just
I keep having the vision of a bunch of slack-jawed people at the corner of every street lantern, just like, what just happened, right? Like,
yeah. It could be the zombie apocalypse they've been talking about, where they're like, they can't even think straight anymore.
That's why I did that video on BitChute a couple months ago, or a month and a half ago, or whatever it was called, Battlefield Promotions. All of us here watching these shows are going to be called to be there for these people when they wake up, and maybe bring their jaw back up to their mouth, right? We're close to that moment now, guys, so be prepared.
We might literally have to do everything, because they're going to be such shock. They might not be able to go to work. We might literally, when they say we're the news, they literally meant we might have to be stepping in, because wow.
Well, Penny Kelly, in her episode last Sunday, I believe it was, she was recounting one of her last experience with some of her ET contacts, and they were saying that we would get to a point right now where we're so busy taking care of people, not just because they're sick, so there's that whole storyboard, but there was something else in the field too, that we would be suddenly very busy, and we would know that we would be in this time period where all of these things would start coming out. So I wonder if this is connected to that, having to deal with people who are suffering maybe from that severe cognitive dissonance load. Again, guys, if you're watching the show, you're going to be called very soon here to step up in your role. Beverly on the screen is saying, is there a connection between Andromeda and the Cassiopeians? Janine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tweak my memory, Andromeda.
Oh, let me bring it up. So that's a star system, I believe, the closest one to Earth, actually.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm not always up to date on those things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit of an earthy Taurus, right? I'm sort of fighting down here, just trying to get everybody prepared, but I literally don't. That stuff's a little over my pay grade or something.
Well, here's what's funny, though. In Greek mythology, Andromeda is the daughter of Cassiopeia.
Oh, whoa.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
Oh,
wow.
Okay, this is really weird. So, Andromeda, now that they're describing that as an actual person now.
In Greek mythology, yes, just like Cassiopeia is this character in Battlestar Galactica, but it is also a galaxy. Yes.
Okay. Okay, because this is kind of weird. What the answer is kind of strange. It's like some kind of independence card from the darkness. So this is the bad guys. So independent from the bad guys. Not sure how that makes sense to the question. Say the question again.
Is Andromeda connected to Cassiopeia? That's how it was framed to us.
and victories in the past. I wonder if one of them helped the other one get independent from the bad guys. Right? So remember those bad guys. I mean, they came to Earth and started pillaging here. Some bigger entity that has all these minions working on Earth. They're now our governments, our higher upper officials in every area, blah, blah, blah. In particular, the medical area right now seems to be really highlighted as completely brainwashed, a lot of them, higher ups anyway, right? So I wonder if at one point, one of these galaxies needed the other one to help them eradicate the dark. So they've already had practice doing it in other galaxies or their own galaxy. So that's how come they're so good at, or could be so helpful at helping us get rid of them.
They were kind of in the position we're in now, but back then. So they have these alliances. You know, I don't know if, I think it was Barbara Masiniak, and we were talking about her. This was a long time ago. I looked into Pleiadians, and there was one of her books that spoke about this, that they've been battling this group that we call satanic Luciferians. Have literally, this is not their first rodeo. They've been like going through the whole cosmos doing this with different.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of what I'm getting.
Well, in Battlestar Galactica, the group is called the Cylons, and they're basically a creation of us, right? And so in other ET contacts, as of late, I had an interview last week. We're saying, well, we're creating a lot of these tulpas, these thoughts that eventually take form, that eventually take bodies, that eventually work against us, right? And so in that movie, we create these Cylons, and basically these Cylons overtake and become this huge force around the galaxy trying to exterminate us. That's how the show is actually presented. So going back to what you just said about Marciniak and the Pleiadians, Lara B77 is asking, okay, Janine, how are the Pleiadians now then connected to the Cassiopeians?
I'm getting the feeling of allies. I'm getting the feeling of they're not interfering with each other right now. There's a respect. There's a lot of respect between the two, but they're in a good, like they have a good relationship. That's the relationship card between the two. Okay, so they're not necessarily, and there's a lot of truth and honesty in the background of them. So their connection comes from truth and honesty. She has integrity. But I feel like then there's all these weight cards going forward. I feel like they stay out of things, out of each other's way, and let, like they have their different places in the karmic wheel of how they're going to help humans or be with humans or what they're doing here right now. And it feels like they're staying out of each other's way right now out of respect. But there's a lot of equality and respect energetically is what I'm getting.
Okay. Now, Starbuck in the second series, I don't want to give a spoiler alert here to the audience. So how do I do this? Well, it's 20 years old if you haven't seen it by now. At any rate, there's an angelic portion to this whole storyboard. So it brings characters into play that we think are here with us as humans, but they're really angelic. And some of them don't even know that's in the show. So let me ask you now, are Cassiopeians here walking among us right now without knowing that they are out of place or out of sync with their own civilization and thinking they're actually part of ours, but eventually going to connect to realize that they were already here on mission to perhaps bridge that gap for when we actually meet? So are those Cassiopeians actually right here now? At least some of them, and maybe even unbeknownst to them right now?
I'd say yes. Looking at this, and it's a little bit frustrating because they get a little bit weary of, so they're the kind of humans that are maybe been awake for 20 years, and they're a little weary of the whole people just waking up now, figuring this stuff out. They feel like they're really a big part of the teaching mechanism right now. So a big part of really who's sharing the knowledge. So even if they don't technically know they're from this energy, they're channeling a lot of they're really concerned with, and they're people, you would find them as people amongst regular folks that are the most insistent on, let's be sovereign, let's be like, because they've been yelling about that for a long time. They've been very fearful of us giving all our rights away. They just have an innate knowing that that's not the path.
Wow. Bryce, your frequency seems to have changed dramatically on that question.
That sounds like my boyfriend.
So that's what hit you. Explain,
Yes,
okay, explain that to the audience a little bit.
No, I mean, it's a good thing, but I mean, JC, I know Janine, you've met him in passing as well, but Todd's very, he's very what is that?
That's a yes. I think he's connected. Yep.
And he's a teacher. I mean, and he has been awake for, honestly, like he's been awake for over 20 years now, like totally awake.
Wow.
And he's really calm about everything. He's very, just has a lot of discernment about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Again, in Battlestar Galactica, I'm starting to keep hammering on this. There's a bunch of characters who eventually realize who they are, but it only, at the end of the show. And all through this life, they had these missions here on Earth, not knowing this connection. And then suddenly this all comes to pass. And then they realize that their wife, their spouse, their military cousins, whatever, oh my God, we were all here for a reason on this specific mission. But okay, there's music. Oh man.
No, I'm
okay, hold on a second here. I'm losing my head. This person is asking, Lily, okay, I'm in the UK. I'm listening to you guys, and there's strange noise in the skies. Okay, with the cards
coming though.
Right. In the show, they all get triggered by this. They're all hearing the same thing. So it's a noise that triggers them into realizing who they are. So maybe we can ask the cards here, are we about to, maybe Bryce's boyfriend included, about to hear some noise or some frequencies that wake us up to who we actually are for some of the Cassiopeians, of course, here on Earth?
Okay, so what's happening in the woman Lily's question? What's happening for her and around her area? She has a really big frequency coming through, literally like she's hearing frequencies rising and intuitive knowing rising. So she's hearing it verbally. So that's huge. Like she has huge esoteric sort of positive wise soul energy, intuitive energy all around creating that noise. It's almost like it's some kind of mechanism that's rising the frequency of people listening or hearing it.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's great. We're answering Lily's question. And now let's do a supplemental and figure out if what we were shown in the series could or will eventually happen here to maybe the people like Bryce's boyfriend, where hearing a specific noise or frequency will all of a sudden bring maybe a dozen of these characters together to realize who they actually are and what their mission is. Is that going to unfold here as well?
Yep. They're going to have here's the breakthrough card again. They're going to have a breakthrough and start sort of noticing each other if they desire to. So they have to be open to it. So if you tell them, Bryce, just to stay open to that, I think they're going to celebrate knowing each other or finding each other.
This is wild. I mean, I know, like, my boyfriend doesn't get on the show that shows that much, but he is there's something very different about him. He has a very different frequency. Like, he's very grounded, and he's probably one of the most intelligent spiritual teachers I've ever met. And I have this might be kind of personal, but maybe it'll help people out there. So my boyfriend, who's also Rh negative, he's A negative. He grew up on military bases. His father, he traveled around the world with different military bases, and he has a lot of abduction experiences. So I'm going to ask the cards. Was he abducted as a child?
Okay, before I answer that, I pulled this card when you were talking about him. So he's a really evolved healer.
Get emotional, yeah.
That's for sure. Okay, and it's his mission to be doing what he's doing, and even supporting you doing what you're doing. Okay, so let's look at. Are you sure he'd be okay with you asking that?
I think so.
I was gonna say.
No, he talks about it a lot. Like
Okay.
I'm talking about like alien abduction, not human.
Do we want? Hold on, Janine. Just pause. Just pause a sec. Just for the frequency. So, what exactly are you asking, Bryce? If he's being abducted by ET, I get that part. But do you want to specify benevolent or malevolent ET, or it doesn't matter?
I'm curious to see which one.
Either way. Okay.
Yeah, because he had a lot of memories.
Okay.
He talks about it a lot.
Go ahead, Janine.
Okay, so their intentions were good. So that's unfortunate that he suffered. And he was given all kinds of training and information and intuitive gifts through the hardships he went through. So that's interesting. Maybe their version of what's suffering and our version of it is different. I don't know. And he'll be glad it happened. So that I hope that's true. But
yeah,
his Lord says it's for he's become wiser and more in touch. It's like they were tuning him up.
Yeah, he didn't have bad experiences. He just had experiences.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because he told me once, he said, I think they gave me my soul. Like he's told me as a child, he felt like they gave him a deep empathy. And so that makes sense. Like he doesn't have he has memories, but not like most people who have these experiences. They're not full on. They're just like little pieces,
Glimpses, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, I've got like chill bumps right now. And I know people watching don't know him, but he is literally one of the best. I mean, he adjusts people and people talk about all the time that he helped. That really rings true to who he is.
I just had a vision. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to say it on air. I'm going to say it to Bryce after the show. And then if she agrees, we can say it on another show. But it's just a very, very clear vision here. Absolutely amazing. Okay. I just had to say that. So I remember to tell you because that's absolutely wild. Forgive me in the audience. Okay. Marie is asking, question, JC, which Battlestar? Okay, I watched both. So I watched the earlier one as a young kid, and I was mesmerized by it. Again, there was something about, I love Star Trek and Star Wars, all of this. But Battlestar Galactica, even then, even though it was an adult show, I was enthralled with it. I don't know why, and I couldn't explain it. And then when I watched the last season, or the last series, the reboot of it, same thing. I got so... Even though it was cheesy and like I'm watching it almost 15 years later, I got so connected and triggered by so many episodes. I don't know. Anyways, I'm curious. Did your boyfriend watch this series at all?
He might have. He really loves sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
So I can ask him when we get off. I'm gonna have to give you guys to change numbers, so because he loves sci-fi stuff. So he's probably in there watching some sci-fi right now. To be honest.
Right. Okay. Before we go, man, we're already at 50 minutes in. Thank you everyone for supporting us and asking these amazing questions about the show. Bryce, you told me not to forget to ask you a question from Tamara before we go today.
Oh, this is gonna take a turn to the dark side, guys. So buckle up.
We'll end on a positive note. We'll do another question at the end. All right, go ahead, Bryce.
Grab a vomit bucket if you need to. This came up on my episode with Catherine Edwards from yesterday, and she went after we did it. So Tamara wanted me to ask about sperm banks. Apparently, there's a information going around that I don't know if we can say the R family from England, banking family. Y'all know. The Childs of the Roth, we'll say.
Yeah, sure.
They apparently have been, if you've donated sperm to a sperm bank, they're throwing them out and using theirs to produce more people with their DNA. That makes sense. I'm trying to be careful about what I say.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Totally. I mean,
so can we look into that? Because
sounds like something they do.
I know. To put more of their spawns out. And I hate to say that because every human being has their own free will and choice, but that's basically what they want to do is.
That would explain why weird ass psychotic people are born into families and don't completely don't match with their families of their origin. That could, wow, okay.
Deep.
Wow. Man.
So
Curious to
that
see
was the
Cardinals in that one.
plan. That was the plan, and they've wanted to do that, but they're quite disappointed in it's not going as good as they wanted it to go. A lot of these dastardly plans haven't been working out for these guys. I don't know what's going wrong here, but yeah, that was a secret plan put in motion. Absolutely, like we've got, yeah. It depends on the advertising of the place. So not all of them would go along with it or something, or somehow their plans got stepped all over by other, who knows what. People shut them down. Maybe the owners of the,
Yeah.
or people working there or whatever. Things went wrong and it got held up. But it not to say they didn't get their yeah. So nothing went as planned. And they had to abandon that at some point.
And I just got in my head.
They were almost outed, it looks like.
As you were saying that, I was thinking of, and I'm probably not going to say this right, intravenous fertilization, where they take the sperm and the egg, you know, and then they put it in the woman. Were they trying to replace any of that sperm unbeknownst to like the parents? Because that's for actual people that can't get pregnant on their own. They do that.
In certain places, and one of the places popped in my head was Poland, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Eastern Europe, they had some kind of operation like that going. But like I said, it was their wish and desire, but people with a conscience who caught on to what was, because you have to have quite the organized, they'd have to have infiltrated all of those places.
Oh, yeah.
Their secrets started to get too close to being exposed. They had to shut a lot of their stuff down. I don't think they got anything like what they wanted out there as far as their own bloodline or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely one of their plans.
I mean, can you imagine if intravenous fertilization or whatever, if you and your husband or partner had fertility issues and you thought that your husband's sperm and your egg, and then all of a sudden you find out after the child's born that they switched out. I mean, that is just such a, I mean,
it's a betrayal like of epic proportions.
Well, how would you even react to that? Like, what? I mean, what?
Yeah,
that's so evil. It's just so freaking evil. It's so evil.
It's
so
evil.
Don't put it past them.
I asked why it all got. I get that they got outed by a higher intelligence. So whether that higher intelligence just started waking people up working there and making them pay attention and shutting that down, so things got shut down. Things got, you know.
Thank God.
The moon card. So they didn't get to do their thing. Okay. And it was because of off-world or this wise old soul energy that I've been channeling. That's like, could even be part of what I call universal love. I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that, wow. Thank you. Awesome. We have no irregular spawns running around that could potentially derail our progress because of those things. So.
Beth says, JC, you're also one of the off-worlders like Bryce's guy.
That's a good, yeah.
Maybe, but I'm not going to ask Janine to pull that live.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm still undercover too. So maybe for a later episode, Beth. But yes, your spidey senses are tingling. That's for sure. All right. Man, are we done? Is this
Can I just mention something? You wanted something on a higher note. I got a little story, just a little story. So today, something came to my old address. You guys don't send me stuff. All the addresses out there are probably wrong that you have. So please don't send me. But somehow I got the parcel that was sent to where I used to live. But they're going to start just sending those back to people, right? All the old addresses that are floating around out there.
Right.
Just send beautiful love to or donate to a place that takes care of unwanted animals or something like that. But I really do appreciate whatever did make its way to me. And today I got this incredible parcel. And I won't say from who because she didn't give me permission. But it was like exactly the kind of energy. So it was all of this love and handmade, beautiful energy. Okay. And my old friends of mine that I used to hang out with in the Haida Gwaii, I haven't seen them for a while because the Queen Charlotte Islands, what used to be called that, Haida Gwaii, has been locked down really bad over this whole, you know why, right? Anyway, I used to send, when I lived there, these hippie parcels, we used to call them, of just love energy to people that we thought needed them. And some of the people I sent those parcels to didn't even know me, but we just had a feeling it was somebody's brother and they might need some extra love. They were going through things. So we'd like make all of these things by hand, combine sewing into them, and just a whole bunch of stuff. And I'd put hours and hours of energy, do their chart, send them their chart. And I never even ever expected even someone to write me and say, thanks for that. Who cares? We sent off these parcels and we did it for years. And I've been quite a giving person of handmade things back in the day. Okay. My hands can't do the kind of stuff I used to do, but I love textiles and beadwork. I used to do like 20 hours of beadwork on something and send it to somebody. Okay, so I've been getting nonstop things like that back. So whatever we put out, this is what I wanted to say. You better be sure. So these evil guys have been putting out thousands of years of demonic plan, or hundreds or 100 years or whatever of this demonic stuff. They're getting back their karma, you guys, and it's going to come back sevenfold. And I feel like I'm getting back all of these beautiful parcels, and I've been getting them. It's just like people sending me things that are so much love in them. That people made blankets I got 2 different handmade quilts from people, like unbelievable. You know how many hours I've quilted? Somebody spent hours thinking about us to do that. It makes me cry. Aw.
Well,
it's
that's
so
very
beautiful.
nice. Absolutely beautiful.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, whatever you put out is going to come back. Yeah. Sorry.
We love you, Janine. Of
Yes.
course, we love you. Everybody in the chat loves you, Janine. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Man. So join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern with Janine. We'll be back on the show for our regular weekly Tarot by Janine episode. We've got so many things on the slide deck already to look at. Okay, let me bring Bryce on. Okay, let me hold on. Let me save the day here. Okay,
save the day.
There you go. Okay, so here's the main screen for tomorrow, guys. I love you. Again, join us at 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night for the return of Tarot Reading by Janine. And of course, on Thursday night, the first inaugural episode of this new series we're developing entitled Galactic Tarot with Ashley. I'm really excited about that. That's going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then at 8 p.m. or at 8:30, The Wacky Woo with Jason at 4. Those are really wacky, guys. And I think this one's going to be, we're going to do something special too. So join us for that one at 8:30. And of course, next week, Catherine is back on the show. And we're doing a different take on our series. And we're trying to reach an even higher frequency. So we're rebranding here to Life is But a Dream. And of course, I'm referring to that English, how do you call that in English? Nursery rhyme, row, row, row your boat, life is but a dream. So anyways, we'll explain that on Monday with the amazing Catherine Edwards. So please stay tuned for all that. In the meantime, you can support, of course, here Bryce at Esoteric Atlanta by subscribing to her channel and hit that notification bell to make sure you see when she comes back online with some of this, interesting information that keeps getting her in trouble. And of course, you can find Sending Ravens here also on YouTube and Tarot by Janine. So this was Secrets Reveal. And guys, if you like the show, we put a lot into it and you feel like giving, please use the tip jar, PayPal tip jar link below. Janine and I share those, and it does make us go a long way here in producing all of this amazing free content for you guys on YouTube. So really appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I love you guys. Merci beaucoup, Bryce, and stay tuned here because I need to talk to you after the show. And thank you so much also, Janine, the beautiful Janine. I love you, and I wouldn't do I wouldn't dream of being anywhere else than what I'm doing with you now here in
Right
this
on.
amazing galactic spiritual war. So thank you so much, Janine, for being in my life. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic. Take care and au revoir.
Au revoir.